Good evening. We're here for the regular meeting of the Natrona County Board of County Commissioners, Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024. The meeting's been called to order. May we have a roll call?
Commissioner Frill,
Here.
Commissioner Laird,
Present.
Commissioner Milne,
Here.
Commissioner North, Chairman Nicolason.
Here. At this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Laird, seconded by Commissioner Friel. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're in executive session. We will be back at 5:30. Michelle, are we on? Ready? All right, we're back from our executive session. Please stand for the pledge. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve our consent agenda items.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Laird, seconded by Commissioner Milne. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda items have been approved. We don't have any separate contracts, agreements, resolutions under agenda item 6 tonight, so we'll move into the public hearing, MS 24-01, a request by John Miller for approval of a major subdivision. I now declare the public hearing open for the consideration of MS 24-01, the Tatanka subdivision. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statutes, rules of the Natrona County Commission, and other applicable laws. May we have a report from staff?
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Steve Granger. I'm a licensed land surveyor with ECS Engineers, and we are interim planners until hopefully the county can find a replacement. So Sean had a family emergency this evening, so I will be filling in for him the best I can. So as you had mentioned, we're looking at the Tatanka subdivision, MS 24-1. We've already gone through many of the items here for consideration on approval, so I'm going to just jump pretty much right straight to the summary of what we've covered over the last few meetings. The Planning Commission first heard this case on May 14th of 24 and forwarded a due pass recommendation to the board for the 6/4/24 County Commissioner meeting. In between meetings, some new information was introduced concerning the FAA access road easement, which is unrecorded but is officially executed. The associated YDOT approach that is now permitted, and several speaking in opposition concerning the applicant. It was remanded that the information be taken back to the Planning Commission so they may hear and consider the new information. So based on that meeting, the Planning Commission heard this case on July 16th of 24 and unanimously voted recommend approval with the condition that the applicant would consider 3 separate items. Number 1 being establishing a easement for access for the BB Brooks owners. Number 2, he added a phasing plan on how he's proposing to construct the roads there. And the 3rd item that was questioned was his ability to show a financial guarantee so that the board would have all these items basically presented so that they can add it to the information that was previously done. Basically what we did, the roadway being referred to as Sitting Bull Road, which is officially not Sitting Bull, that exists only in the BB Brooks record of survey. But this road, based on the research at the courthouse, looking up legal documents, checking record of survey, has never been a legal access for BB Brooks owners. BB Brooks access has always, per the record of survey, been along 7 Butte Drive to Desperado Drive out to I-25 to the service road. So I guess one of the questions that was brought up, does the owner have the right to shut the existing roadway down based on that information? Can an access easement be mandated even though the BB Brooks owners currently already have legal access? and along the road shown on the record of survey. The phasing plan has been included and appears satisfactory based on 3 phases. And the financial surety has been provided in the amount of 3 separate construction cost estimates and also a letter from Mr. Miller's bank stating that he does have the current funds available for the construction. Right now, most currently, we basically have had 9 in opposition, and one of them questioned this FAA access, which I had mentioned earlier is not a recorded document, but it has been executed and was provided by FAA, and this road that's being called Sitting Bull is their legal access into their facility. So right now, technically, they are the only ones that have the legal right to use that roadway to go in. So based on the information that's been provided, we feel that we could basically put a due pass recommendation. He's met all the requirements. He's met the other items that were requested by the planning board and requested initially by his first review before the commissioners. So if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them for you if I can.
Any questions, Commissioner Laird?
What I'm really concerned about in this county overall is some of the roads, the dirt roads going into some of these housing areas that kind of escaped the scrutiny that they needed, because we're seeing some other areas of town where these dirt roads are not maintained because they're not county roads. People don't realize this. Just because it's a road in the county doesn't mean we have jurisdiction over it. If it's a specific county road, then we take care of the county road. So some of these subdivisions, the roads aren't county roads, and then even the people don't know who owns the roads. And they can't seem to ever get anything done in terms of fixing these roads. And we have some where the post office won't go down the road and deliver their mail. The ambulances can't get down there. And so I'm really worried about these dirt roads and who's going to take care of these dirt roads in some of these new subdivisions. So what's the situation on this one?
Well, as far as the actual maintenance of these roads, I would probably defer that to Mr. Miller and let him speak on behalf of how he's going
Do
to.
you know who owns the roads?
Right now, the roads in BB Brooks, ownership of those lots goes to the center line of the roads. So they basically own half and half, and there's easements that have been established along all of the roads in BB Brooks. My understanding is they do have an HOA, but my understanding also is the fact that they don't have anything set up for regular maintenance of the roads out there. I personally live in another HOA east of there, and it's the same situation. You know, we have poor roads. The HOA does their best to maintain them and take care of them. But unfortunately, we have a lot of members of the HOA that don't like to pay their dues, so you can't do much with it. But at this point, the ownership is the actual lot owners in BB Brooks. So it would be up to the HOA to establish some type of a maintenance program, whether that be improvements or just graveling what's there.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you. Other questions?
Mr. Chairman. Looking at everything, just concerned with getting up to the VOR. Looks like the proposal is to move Sitting Bull Street over to the property or the lot edge. Is that correct? And then maintain, given that access to the FAA at that point through that street?
Yes, that's the plan. In conversations with the FAA, they have agreed to allow the road to be shut down and moved to the new Sitting Bull, which would be up at the north end of the properties. And then a new easement document is prepared, and then it will be recorded so that the easement now is shifted over to the new Sitting Bull per the subdivision.
And then that old easement or that they have that would just go away, right?
Yeah, well, the road that's there is no easement on it. There is no
Well,
legal
the
recorded
access-
easement. Yeah.
Right, the access to it would be gone.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. They would have to go back to using the actual deeded access through BB Brooks.
Any other questions? I think that's it for questions for staff at this point. Thank you.
Okay.
At this time, I'd ask for those individuals wishing to speak in favor of MS 24-01 to please approach the lectern.
Good evening, Bill Farringer, Civil Engineering Professionals, 6080 Enterprise Drive. I have been the surveyor on this subdivision for Mr. Miller, and wanted to get up and just bring up a few of the items that have been discussed and concerns with. The first item is the roads, as Commissioner Laird brought up. The dedication on the plat, the roads within this subdivision are private roads. Sitting Bull Road, Tetonka Run, and then Iron Horse Road will be dedicated to the use of the owners and the guests of this subdivision. Natrona County will not be responsible for any maintenance of these roads. They are not dedicated to the use of the public. And the roads in this subdivision are not part of the road system for the BB Brooks area or their residents. We have currently a set of design drawings for these three roads to be built to Natrona County specs with a 24-foot wide top, borrow ditches, culverts, and gravel and base course being put on these roads. And as you know, they'll be fine for starting out, and then as time goes on, they'll need some maintenance. When the subdivision is approved, Mr. Miller has indicated they will get an HOA established for this area, and then the maintenance of the roads will be turned over to the HOA. So that's the plan there. The FAA road, that is an existing two-track road that cuts through the subdivision and provides access for the FAA to reach their facility to the northeast. As Mr. Granger indicated, the FAA has an easement to use this road. And the owner, Mr. Miller, and we have met with the FAA about the road and the potential for the relocating of it. The FAA was all in favor of that. They have no problem, and are more than happy with, once it's moved, to create a new agreement with the owner for to provide them access through that road. We did assure them that when the existing road is cut off, the FAA will continue to have access to their site. It should be noted that the FAA is the only organization with permission to use these roads, other than the owners and the guests of the subdivision. We know there's some residents of BB Brooks area that have been using this two-track road across this parcel, and that might have been acceptable when BB Brooks owned this parcel, but now that the property ownership has changed, no one else really has a legal right or easement to use and access this road. It is on private property, and we know that it could be an issue. Construction phasing, as indicated on the phasing map, this subdivision is planned to be constructed in 3 separate phases. And as typical with construction of a subdivision, developers get started, they build out part of it, use the income and funds from that to then fund and continue on with their construction. And so that's what's planned on this one. Individual water wells and septic systems are planned for each lot in the subdivision. An in-depth study was prepared and submitted to the DEQ. DEQ has reviewed this study as required by the state, and they have come back with, and they've approved the Chapter 23 study for these individual wells and septic systems, and have come back with a no apparent adverse effects to the environment. So there's also been some discussion about connecting to the existing water line that runs through this area that heads up to the Midwest Edgerton area. I have had 2 different conversations with the director of Central Wyoming Regional Water System about a possible connection. And he has told me that currently the only connections allowed on this, that line is strictly for Midwest Edgerton. Said that if an improvement in service district in this area was ever established and put together a request and came to the Regional Water Board about a connection, the Regional Board could consider it and possibly approve it. To carry that through, the area would then have to probably construct a water storage facility out there, possibly some pumps, some booster stations, install all the fire hydrants, water lines, distribution lines, service lines, and this small subdivision cannot afford that. It would be in the millions of dollars to do something of this sort. So if an improvement in service district were going to be established to consider that, it would have to take in probably the larger part of the BB Brooks area and this subdivision also. Currently, that is not in the planning. It's just not feasible at this time. There have also been some comments made about not having adequate power in the area to service this area, this new subdivision. We've talked and had more than one conversation with Rocky Mountain Power. They are working on their design for the system. I've spoken with the director out there. He said that providing power to this area is not going to be an issue. So that should not be a problem, and I believe they're already looking at constructing a new substation in that area in relation to that wind farm that's going up. So that may help some of that issue. So that is pretty much what I had to throw out there. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Any questions for Mr. Farringer?
Okay.
One question
Yes.
from me. I see on the proposed plat, the current location of what we're calling Sitting Bull Road. And it goes through lots 7 and 8 and 10. I think that the development of lots, at least, I think it's 7 and 8, would be hampered a lot if the agreement with the FAA wasn't, if it didn't materialize. So the relocation of that would seem to be very important to the development of those couple lots. I don't know if we should consider some sort of condition that, I guess, accounts for that, or what your thoughts are. I just don't know how fast the federal government's going to work. I'm glad to hear that you've had a positive meeting, but do you want to respond to that in regard to those couple lots?
Yeah, and as you can see from the phasing plan, that those lots are in the phase 2 portion of this project. And so once we get up to that point, we can look at constructing that north road there for Sitting Bull. If you like, we could prepare an agreement with them early on in the project that states that makes the comment in the agreement that says that when Sitting Bull, as it currently exists, is taken out of use due to construction, that the other access will be provided to them. That would help your decision. That is a pretty simple process, and I think the FAA would probably be more than happy to accept an agreement like that.
Well, at the very least, I think that the issuance of building permits should not move forward unless and until there's adequate proof that the relocation has been agreed to by the FAA. I guess what can be accomplished, up to that point, and I do appreciate that this is phase 2, and Sitting Bull would be developed, at a later point, but I don't know that this needs to hold up the entire thing.
Sure.
We have to hear the evidence tonight, but I do think that that's at least one consideration that I'm thinking about as it relates to the FAA's right to use that, and then those couple lots.
Sure. I don't believe that should be a stumbling block. We can move forward with that agreement and get that moving with the FAA. This is kind of the horse and the cart. We didn't want to get too far ahead with some of that stuff until we knew the subdivision would be approved.
Fair enough. Commissioner Mill?
Yeah, just kind of keying off of what Chairman Nicolason was talking about. It looks on your plan with the different phases that relocation of that road would actually be in phase 3. Maybe the abandonment of the one would be in phase 2, but it looks like it'd be in phase 3.
And I think what we could possibly do, and I think kind of the plan was at that time, is that when we worked our way up to where the existing trail is right now, the Sitting Bull Road would be roughed in to a point where they could utilize it for their access. Because they don't go out there every day. It's like several times a year is what I've been told. And so Sitting Bull Road could be roughed in at that point for their use. And then as we get up into phase 3, then Sitting Bull could be completed with the borrow ditches and the road base.
So would the access onto the frontage road, is that on part of the phase 3 or would that be included with phase 2 then?
That would all take place at the same time. I believe if they're going to rough that road in, they would also put that access in.
Okay.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I did not mention that we have had meetings with YDOT, and the 2 accesses that we see shown on here have already been approved by YDOT.
Any other questions?
I hear a lot of things in here, but I'm a lawyer and I have a saying, if it ain't in writing, it don't mean shit to me. So I've got to see certain things in writing, and I think Mr. Nicolason stated that earlier.
Okay.
Because then I know it's going to happen. That's all I really need to say about it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And what we would like is after the other members or the attendees here have their say, if we could have a moment to respond to some of their comments at the end.
I think we can make that happen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any others wishing to speak in favor of MS 24-1?
Good evening. I'm John Miller. I'm the applicant. I don't have too much to say. I mean, I think everybody's already pretty much said it. I'm waiting to hear the negative comments before I but we've spent over a year putting this together and down to the size of the lots, so they can't be resplit. So once the subdivision is approved, that's it. It's not, we came in with 40s and then we split it to a 20, which now we split it to a 10. So there was a lot of care and consideration for how we developed this whole plan. And part of the other is, in one of the comments, it was going to be a negative effect to the BB Brooks. These roads don't even affect BB Brooks. And I live out there on lot 434. And I used to have to drive down Moccasin, take a ride on Tomahawk, go all the way around. It was over 3 miles. The roads are really poorly constructed. So what did I do? I bought the lot in front, built my driveway, and now I only drive about 3/4 of a mile. So a lot of these people complain about the roads and in and out access. This is what they bought. This is what was proposed. This is what was built. And if you look on the BB Brooks, it says this was private. There was never a road. They just took it upon themselves to use it. But do you have any questions?
I do. I am concerned about the roads, sir, because that's one of the things that's really disturbing me is the roads in Natrona County where these subdivisions have been put in and the placement has not been adequately provided in writing as to how those roads are going to be maintained, who owns the roads, what's expected. And then people buy it and they don't even know they own out to the middle and they don't want to pay for it or they can't pay for it. We just had couple of things that got really bad on those kind of roads. And the ambulances got stuck, the mail people got stuck. They said, if you don't get this fixed, we're not even going to deliver your mail to you anymore. So then I started looking into all this. You go knock on people's door and they didn't know that it wasn't a county road. They didn't know that they owned in the middle of the street. They didn't know they had to pay money. And then you say, well, you're going to form this little group where you have to pay and it's $900 a year. And they don't want to pay $900 a year. And so they're suffering with these roads when they could probably be taken care of. Now I hear you'll put in some sort of agreement among the people after you get it developed, but I don't know, do they have to join it if they buy a?
That will be a mandatory. And the other thing too is our roads don't go to the center. Okay, your lot stops, there's a 30-foot easement going up. The roads are 30 feet wide, that's the easement. And part of BB Brooks and some of the others, they go out to the middle. So it becomes an issue. Oh, where do you stop? You know, where do you put your fence? You know, things like that. Bill suggested that we keep the roads separate and owned by the association, basically, and we're looking at like $300 a year. But the other thing too is, Mr. Laird, the roads will be built to a county spec. A lot of these others, they're not. There's no gravel on them. If any of you have been out there driving them, there is no gravel on them. I mean, they try to put some gravel on, but when you start out with over 6 inches thick to begin with, that's quite a base. On top of, you know, we put a state-approved fabric under it, so the gravel doesn't tend to sink into the sand. You know, like Bill said, we've got, you know, there's cross-sections in our plans that show the development of the road and how it's going to be built. And it's a far cry from the roads I drive on that I pay for. But I understand what you're saying.
It sounds like if that works, that would be a fairly decent way to do it. But is it in writing? Is it something where the people accept it when they buy the lot?
It'll be out there, don't buy. Basically, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be, here's the covenants, you know, here's how the roads are maintained, and it's the same thing with a lot of them. When you buy, you just inherently have to accept it. But the difference will be,
Yeah, and I understand that, but I don't think a lot of people do understand that unless they're lawyers or they're builders and they've been involved in it, and they're wanting to get their house going, and then all of a sudden they have problems with the road, and everybody throws up their hands and it doesn't get fixed. And then all of a sudden, services are stopped because they're not going to send those UPS trucks up the road or the ambulances or anything else. Those are the things that worry me as a citizen for my citizens. They
right,
got to be able to get in and out of there and get an ambulance in and out of there and get fire engines in and out of there. And then
Well, you will.
everybody throws up their hands and say, well, we don't know who owns the roads, we don't have any, we didn't sign up to pay
Well,
for these
and the
roads.
difference too will be, we'll do winter plowing. BB Brooks does no winter plowing. So if you get a storm, it's up to the homeowners to figure out how to plow or get in and out.
I know that's it, and I get 88-year-old people calling me in the middle of the winter that can't get out of there, and nobody will plow the road, and they're running out of their medicine.
Yeah, no, you won't get this from here.
Well, I'm getting it. Then I call Mike Hagler and say, I've got a bunch of elderly people out there, and they've got to get into town and get their medicine, and then he goes out and plows the roads, because we can't have people dying out there.
No.
But it's because people have done these subdivisions that didn't take care of the people. They took care of getting money and building the house, and then everything then was turned over to the citizen. And I think we as a commission have to start stopping that kind of thing. That's my own personal opinion of it. I'm not saying you're gonna do it or thought about doing it, but I'm worried about it. It's as clear as I can make it.
Any other questions for Mr. Miller?
All
Thank
right.
you, sir.
Well, thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of MS 24-01, please approach. All right. At this time, I'd ask for those individuals wishing to speak in opposition to MS 24-01, please approach.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Greg Gerard. I live at 4,000 Horse Ranch Creek Road. I'm here representing the Gerard Ranch. We actually own close to 40 of these properties, so we're pretty vested in what goes on here. Some of the things that have been said tonight, and they've been said over and over, and I know you guys see it, but I'd like just for the record again, as far as that easement and that access, that road Sitting Bull tonight was called again a 2-track road. That road is not a 2-track road. That is a gravelled road. Also, just as a reminder, that even for 15, close to 20 years that we can recollect, there was a sign advertising that BB Brooks parcels. So anyone that had bought back in there had assumed that road was going to be an access, just as Commissioner Laird had talked about, you know, people wondering if they do, or you're just assuming, or if there's a sign saying BB Brooks Properties. Another thing, I've got a handout. I was going to email this and I couldn't get it. Am I allowed to give you guys each a copy of this? I think so.
Remember my kindergarten teacher handing me stuff out?
Tonight again, earlier, it was mentioned that there is no, I can't remember how it was put, but there's no one that works on these roads. On that first page, you'll see that's actually an accounting by BB Brooks Homeowners Association. You'll see that there's actually $121,800 spent to take care of these roads. And I've heard from Mr. Feringer that the roads aren't maintained and they're not that good, and I couldn't figure out where that was coming from. Well, if you look on the next page, that's an aerial view. Off to the left of that page, you'll see that long stretch of road there, and then it turns into where those homes are. That's the last subdivision that Mr. Miller had built. That's where a lot of that traffic is going to be diverted if there's not an access on that, what's now known as Sitting Bull. On the next page, just as the next 2 pages, actually, you'll see there's lots of gravel on that road, but because of that additional traffic, a lot of those funds are having to go to extra blading of this, and the fees that we pay just don't keep up with that. So that road, that long stretch, I believe it's a little over, right at 2 miles. You can see on those 2 pages, just from that straight edge being across there, it literally, if you drive 15 miles an hour, it'll rattle you off to the side of the road. So there's that. As far as the phasing plan, when you guys had sent it back to planning and zoning, there were some pretty strict things that were said. The roads needed to be developed first, and then you need to look into the water. We've heard tonight that they've talked to Central Wyoming Regional Water. Well, it's my understanding that actually the Salt Creek Water District owns that. And I don't know who they've talked to, but I would assume if you're gonna speak with someone about a water tank and tapping into those lines, that would have to go before that board as well. No one, this has not gone before the Salt Creek Water Board. As far as the water goes, we can attest to the wells that we have. We've had some that we've had to lower the pumps on existing wells just to keep the pumps to quit pumping off. And it's been a dry summer. So we're talking about this huge aquifer. I'd love a guarantee from someone to tell me that we can drill 100 feet and have 15 gallons a minute. In theory, sure, but realistically, we feel that many taps into that aquifer or drilling those wells, that's going to have an effect on the water. And I believe Commissioner Friel had even spoke to that with looking into the actual tapping into the regional water that's there. The financial guarantee, I'm not sure what was provided to you folks, but this is the thing that really got us involved. There's a lot of people that Mr. Miller has started to do work for, and it's not completed. I know you guys have heard from him. I don't mean to kick a dead horse, but this project we feel should not go forward unless those people get taken care of. That's not even, after all the meetings and everything we've been to, not one of those people that you guys have talked to or gotten letters from have even gotten an apology. That just kind of, I don't understand why, if we have such deep pockets and we can do this financially, why haven't those people been taken care of? With that, that's about all I have. But if you have any questions for me.
Any questions for Mr. Gerard?
I do, Mr. Gerard. Let's set aside the financial issue with people that have already bought houses, and there's some disputes there, as I understand it, between the two parties, and we're not judges. We can't, we're not authorized to judge whether somebody who hasn't maybe paid for his whole house did it properly or improperly. That would be up to a court. What I'm trying to figure out here is what, in your opinion, setting that financial issue aside that you just mentioned, because I don't see anything in the rules where we can consider that, truthfully. So I've got to take a look at the law and the rules. If I don't watch the law and the rules, then everything gets away from me. So what is it that he's doing right now and what he's presented, do you think is not in accordance with the law or the rules?
Commissioner Laird, thank you for your question. With that, currently he has a contractor license. 2 years ago, that contractor license was revoked. He is approved through the Natrona County planning, however it works. He again comes to you wanting to further what he can do with his contractor license, but yet we have these other people back here that because they had the trust and the faith in the county that he was approved to build for them, and now we've got this mess. There's a lot of civil stuff. Mr. Miller had spoke to the fact of one gentleman, Mr. Matt Hewitt. He said, I've got a lien on his house. Well, they went to court. come to find out, he doesn't have a lien on his house anymore, and actually, Mr. Miller was ordered to pay that gentleman's attorney fees. So I completely understand where you're coming from. However, a lot of the people that you may hear from tonight, they feel that, gosh, we'd never thought we could be in this hole if, hopefully that answers your question.
Not really, but my concern is the roads.
Oh, definitely.
Now, I'm with Mr. Nicolason. I haven't seen anything in writing on that road about what the feds or whoever it is say they have an easement there. I haven't seen anything about that, and I think we have to protect that until we do see something. So that's an issue right there that, I mean, you know, I don't think anybody's lying to me, but the proof, I'm a lawyer. You got to give me the proof.
Yes, sir.
And that comes on both sides. I got to see the proof. And so right now, I don't see any proof of that one big issue that the chairman brought up. How do I know whether they talked to anybody about water or anything else? They said they did, but nobody's given me a document showing that you did this and you have it covered in the rules and the regulations. I'm a rules and regulations guy. You follow those. I don't make judgments on their personalities. I like some people, I don't like some people, but they're constituents, they get a fair hearing here. So that's what I'm going to give everybody, but I need to see something, a couple of these things in writing for me to ever vote for it. So, but this issue about, I feel bad about these people who are in a dispute with him, but that's something the courts need to take up. We just can't do it. I don't think it's within our purview to say, well, you didn't finish this guy's house. Well, this guy didn't pay me. Well, what am I supposed to do with that? That's the court's issue. If he didn't finish the house like he was supposed to, then the guy should take him to court, and the court will say, you got to finish this house, or give him a refund or whatever. Or if you owe him money, you better pay him the money. So I don't want to get bogged down in that, but are you tracking with me?
Oh, exactly.
On what our authority is? We're not a court. We don't have courtroom authority.
And that's where we would hope maybe this could even be tabled until those things can be looked into further, because it could turn into another Antelope Hills where.
And that's one of the places I was silently referring to, and I happen to represent Van Irvin, who put that together years ago, or bought it years ago, and I know what the problems are out there. So I don't want to see any more of those problems. It's too hard on our people, especially elderly people.
Other questions for Mr. Gerard?
Okay, thank you much.
Thank you.
My name is Roy Gerard, box office 580, physical address is 4,000 Horse Creek Ranch Road. I can't believe that we're even in here. I can't believe that planning commission would let that come back to you without straightening his problems out. And Dallas, I appreciate you asking the question. We don't have any proof. You guys have proof. He was in here, Jim, you was on the commission board when he was cited for the very same thing as he is cited for today. And it's just like a trespasser. You can charge that trespasser with trespassing. You can't do nothing with him. You catch him the second time, you can. And why in the hell would you want to let somebody make the people suffer like that? And I can tell you, you asked me for a financial statement, I can show you $1 million financial statement without any shame. And it's just like that Phoebe Brooks deal. There's 33,000 acres there, and everybody wonders why everybody hadn't got it. You've got to have $2,000 or $3,000 for the livestock, for the wells, for the everything, for solar pumps. But, you know, why are you guys giving him a second chance without straightening him out? I can't believe that commission let this come back to you even without trying to straighten this out. And I know you don't want to get involved with that, you know, monkey business stuff, but it's got to be for real or it wouldn't have been before. And you guys said before that Rob Henry told him as chairman of the board, you straighten your act up or we're going to take measures. And that's only, and you just like with me. John Miller wants to start a subdivision there, and here I am. I own probably 14,000 acres out there of deeded estate. And I can tell you one thing about Roy Gerard. I have made more money with a handshake than I ever did sign a bunch of papers. In other words, if I say I'll do something, I'll do it. He doesn't do it. And I told you about him turning his dogs loose and calling the sheriff, and they're knocking calves out of my cows. And the sheriff tells him to, but he don't want to obey the law. He wants to do what John wants to do. Well, what the hell would he do with the subdivision, especially 312 acres, for Christ's sake? But you guys have a responsibility to treat whoever's dealing that real estate. They have deals they have to live up to. And that's about all I have to say, as in I really appreciate you guys letting me talk to you. But what I can't believe is, everybody picking on him. They're not picking on him. There's nothing I'd like to see any better than him to go on if he just straightened his act up. But, and I'll tell you something else about that John Miller feller. You go look at some of his damn houses, they're nicer houses as there is. But he's so worried about somebody else outbidding him that he's bidding them too cheap and then not finishing. And I really appreciate you guys listening to me. Damn, I don't come to town very often, and you guys, I don't want you to get familiar with seeing me.
Thank you, Mr. Gerard.
Thank you, Mr. Gerard. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
Hello, I'm Julie Engelman, and I live at 3151 Broken Trail Drive. I'll say good evening, commissioners. I have this written out for me. My husband and I wrote it together, so I'll just take the time to read it through. I am speaking today on behalf of my husband, Anthony Engelman, whom you have heard from on multiple occasions, and my family of 6 children who are here this evening. I am also here to speak for the families of the 20-plus would-be homeowners who stand to be irreparably harmed by John Miller should the county fail to protect them from what can only be described as a corrupt, fraudulent, and inept contractor. I am speaking from a point of personal experience, and as I have come to learn more from others who have been harmed like us, I now know that our family is unfortunately not alone and did not have a unique experience with John. Our experience was relayed completely and specifically to the building department and subsequently to the board now seated here. Many other individuals and families have also spoken out with specific grievances, pleading with the elected officials whose responsibility it is to protect the public, to intercede on their behalf. Many of those individuals are also here tonight. Others have spoken during times of public comment. Some lack the resources to properly seek redress from John or the county due to health reasons. Storm, Shannon, and Beta immediately come to mind. My heart goes out to their family. I am sad for them and I am angry for them. I'm also angry for Stephen Sheridan. His home was cobbled together shortly after the commissioners saw fit to reinstate licensure to John Miller and Central Wyoming Homes, citing a desire to protect his livelihood rather than protect the public. Matt Hewitt could argue the same. I am angry for Christine Goudermont-Collins, Brian and Tina Bledsoe, Paul Marhofer, Jerry Buckley, Greg Gerard, Roy Gerard, the Gerard Ranch, and the BB Brooks subdivision collectively. Every family I've mentioned, including John and Jody Miller, are residents of the BB Brooks Ranch community. We've all signed covenants that govern how any of us may use the land which we own. This includes road easements. This includes the subdivision of land. This includes the allowing of one's property to be left unkempt, cluttered, and littered with equipment, vehicles, construction materials, trailers, etc. The BB Brooks community is not a trailer park. It is not a high-density subdivision. Our covenants specifically preclude it and protect us from the ambition of others who are out to make a buck as opposed to raise a family or retire quietly. However, John Miller was able to convince BB Brooks to annex the land from the master community plan, thus removing it from the purview of the covenants, remains an issue of standing with all BB Brooks Ranch owners. However, he was able to convince BB Brooks to deed the land without collateral or payment as a material issue for the county to vet. Whatever deal was struck to mortgage the $594,000 property set to be subdivided with essentially no money down is a liability the county cannot afford. For the county to move forward with this proposal, the commissioners will have to not only affirm John has met the requirements of the application, but the amendments set forth by the Planning Commission on July 16th, 2024, including but not limited to an easement for BB Brooks residents to continue to use Sitting Bull Road. a phasing plan for the construction of the subdivision roads, and most importantly, the verification of financial resources to complete the proposed subdivision as set forth in state statutes. This financial stipulation by itself should give every one of you pause. First, I would remind the commission that it has a statutory obligation to reject the application if it does not meet the requirements of the amendment. Considering the sheer number of complaints made against John Miller by defrauded clients, homeowners, contractors, vendors, and neighbors, I cannot see how it is in the county's best interest, regardless of whatever has been presented in support of John Miller's financial solvency, to allow him to continue to engage in the type of business that has brought so many dissenting voices to these hearings. Some have already taken successful legal action, more still will. A reasonable person can plainly see, after preponderance of the evidence, that John Miller is a fraud and a crook and should not be allowed to steal the hard-earned money from decent, hardworking people simply because he filled out all the forms correctly. Even a cursory public records search reveals a litany of liens, garnishments, tax delinquency, and bankruptcy. These are not the hallmarks of compliance or strong ethics. Perhaps that's standard business practice in Boston, but this is Wyoming, and we are tired of sitting back and watching John Miller gaslight the system and citizens of this county. The county has an obligation to protect potential home buyers from unethical and shady contractors. Issuing permits and licenses to contractors and providing oversight instills trust in the home buying public. Reinstating John's license after what he did to our family was either ignorant and complacent or complicit. Either way, John was able to continue to directly financially harm new home buyers who had a modicum of trust in the licensure and oversight provided by Natrona County. They were wrong. We were wrong. We all spent thousands of dollars on permits and inspections. Some of us have lost tens of thousands. Some of us have lost hundreds of thousands. Enough is enough. We are reasserting our claim that in the construction of our home, John Miller and Central Wyoming Homes LLC caused financial and material damages in excess of $300,000 through gross negligence, theft by deception, fraud, and perjury. The specifics of this claim were presented to the Natrona County Building Department on June 3rd, 2021, after we discovered the main septic line that ran from our house to our tank had been removed by John after the county had inspected it. The county issued a temporary occupancy certificate so that our family of 8, including 6 children, would be able to use the showers, toilets, and hot water. As a direct result of John Miller's negligence, sewage backed up into and flooded our home. It was raw sewage. At a hearing in front of you on August 3rd, 2021, John initially denied this despite photographic evidence and testimony from the inspector who green tagged the system. Ultimately, John admitted toward the end of the hearing that he did remove the pipe before backfilling the system, stating, "I just forgot to reinstall it." He also stated in that hearing that he picked up our siding and roofing steel from Bridger Steel and was currently in possession of it. This was steel we had been invoiced for and paid for. It was never installed on our house, delivered to our house, or reimbursed in any way. These statements are part of the record from that hearing. Regardless of what happens here today, John Miller has until the end of the day tomorrow to deliver our steel or a certified check for the invoiced amount for the materials we paid. Otherwise, my husband intends to call the sheriff's office and report them stolen along with our septic pipe. Anthony will also be forwarding our original complaint from 2021 and a copy of the police report to the appropriate state agencies, including the Wyoming Consumer Protection Agency, the State Building Department, and the U.S. Attorney's Office regarding the electronic theft of funds, which is a federal felony. Members of the commission have asked my husband each time he's spoken out regarding John Miller whether or not we've pursued civil or legal action yet, insinuating that our lack of action somehow implies lack of standing. I would like to say that I find this line of questioning to be dismissive and disrespectful of our family's ordeal. It is self-serving on the county's part, and frankly, it's insulting. Anthony's job is first and foremost husband, father, and provider. Completing our home and maintaining a strong family in the midst of a construction project that was disastrously mishandled took all of his time. All of it. Now that our home is finally completed, our children are older, and we have found a more reasonable life and work balance, Anthony will be able to focus more attention on holding John's feet to the fire regarding what he stole from our family. We will never get that time back, but there's no statute of limitations in Wyoming regarding grand larceny or wire fraud. Having said that, our ability or resolve regarding restitution does not mitigate in any way the county's responsibility or the elected commissioner's duty to protect every citizen of Natrona County, not just the ones from Boston with deep pockets. As I mentioned, we have 6 children. Our job as parents is to teach our kids to work hard, treat people the way they want to be treated, and to be accountable when they mess up. We expect the representatives we elect to hold to the same values, especially here in Wyoming. This is at the core of civics. We cannot hope for our children to do anything other than emulate us. The example we set will shape them, good, bad, or otherwise. I trust you will honor your commitment to the future home buyers of Natrona County by making the right decision. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am.
I would like to have a comment with
Do you
her,
have a question?
kind of. What I mentioned earlier, a lot of people think we're a court, and so I don't mean to minimize your situation. But it's very clear what the Wyoming statutes tell us we can do, what our authority is. And one of them isn't being a court to judge the problem that you have directly with him. What we have to look at is what we think of this subdivision, and does it fit our rules and regulations, and that's what we have to deal with. I hear everything everybody's saying. I wouldn't want that said about me, I know that much. But we're gonna do what we were sworn to do, but we can't assume authority, ma'am, that we don't have. I mean, just like if you wanted heart surgery from me, I couldn't do that either. So, but I have done that as a lawyer. I've defended people for 50 years in this county that's been cheated and robbed and horsewhipped and shot and everything else. And I'll continue to do it. But here in this job, I have to do what the authority that Wyoming state law gives us to do.
Yeah.
And that's what I intend to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of personal story in here, and I get that. But there's also the comments made for the amendments on July 16th. And I like what you said, sir, about seeing paperwork. I don't believe he has the funds to do justice to the 20-plus buyers, and I am concerned.
I gotta see paperwork,
I'm
that's all I can
concerned
tell you.
about the 20 new buyers who
Yeah.
are going to have
Yeah.
all of these problems.
I hear
And
what you're
maybe,
saying.
maybe you say you're not a judge, and I understand that. I guess I'm confused why he's even licensed. And I don't know who did give him that authority.
Well, he's licensed, he's licensed.
I would
You know.
like proof. We've been looking for it. But I'll keep looking.
All right.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition, please approach.
Rosemary Saban, Natrona County resident. How many times have I just heard no authority? The zoning resolution rewrite seems to give you guys all the authority in the world to pick winners from losers. You seem to have all the authority in the world when it comes to Sonny Pilcher and anybody associated with Sonny Pilcher. Now, I don't have time to go back and listen to what you guys said about all that, and when you didn't approve this and didn't approve that and another, because it was Sonny Pilcher's involvement. Another thing that wasn't mentioned here is that I appreciate that you bring up the safety part of it, because health, safety, morals, welfare, that's all part of that zoning resolution, right? Planning, zoning.
These are the subdivision regulations, not the zoning.
Yes, well, it still has to go through all of that, right? That's the whole thing with having a land use plan for Natrona County, is it not? To look out for the citizen safety, that's what we're paying for. So when we're looking at property taxes, people are paying property taxes, and with property taxes that funds the county, they're naturally assuming that that provides services. Part of those services that they assume is road maintenance. So in my time campaigning, talking to people up on Salt Creek Highway, they were really upset that there's no road maintenance up there. And the roads are appalling. I mean, you could bury a semi in some of those potholes, and they get no services. And I understand that the county can't go spending money. I'm in here griping about the money that you guys do spend. So to provide services for all of that, but why do they have to undergo building? It's like you guys are having your cake and eating it too. They have to, everything that they want to do, you know, like Judy tells you all the time, Mother, may I do this, may I do that? We have to buy this, we have to buy a permit for that, and yet they're not getting any services. So which is it gonna be? You need to think about that.
Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Final call for anyone wishing to speak in opposition. All right, at this time, Mr. Miller or Mr. Farringer, you have a couple minutes to respond to what you want to respond to.
Thank you for this opportunity. Just a couple of things that I wanted to hit on, and then I think John will touch on a couple of other things. The financial information, the surety information was provided to the county planning office with estimates on a separate contractor to blade the roads and put the base and everything down, what it would cost for all of that, plus his letter of credit and his bank information. So that's all been provided. Mr. Gerard's comment about the water line out there. The water line to Midwest Edgerton, that is maintained and operated and I believe owned by the regional water system. They have the authority over that water line. I believe they also consolidate or also discuss this with whoever the Salt Creek Board is. But the regional water is who has the authority to say yes or no to any connections to that, and that's who I've spoken to. I couldn't get them to write me a letter saying that this was it. I put my conversation down in an email, and I had sent that to the county also, to the county planning office. So they have that. And as far as the roads go, I understand your concern about the roads and who's going to take care of them, who's going to maintain them. Short of dedicating them to the county and having the county own and maintain them, which I know the county doesn't have the funds nor the ability to take that over. I mean, there's no guarantee on that. An HOA membership or an HOA will be established with this subdivision, and that happens in a lot of subdivisions. And I know when I used to live out west of town, that was right in my purchase agreement that as an owner of a lot in here, I am a member of the HOA and I have to pay these dues. And so that's how that would have to be taken care of. And like I say, I don't know how you can have any more of a guarantee that the roads will be maintained other than short of not allowing any more or any additional subdivisions in Natrona County with any roads. That will be very difficult. The FAA road, as far as the agreement on that, you're right that that's not been put down in writing yet. There is a note on the dedication of the plat that requires that easement or that agreement to be put together. So there is a statement to that effect on the plat when it's recorded. But we, like I said earlier to Mr. Nicolason, we can go ahead and put that in the works as soon as we know if the subdivision will be approved or not. And get the FAA. They've been very good to work with, and they said they're not concerned about it. We can make that happen. I think that's really all that I had to add. So, any additional questions?
I have two easy questions.
Commissioner Laird, Commissioner Milne's going to go first.
Okay.
Thanks for the update there a little bit, Bill. I got just a couple questions.
Yes.
And they're based off of our subdivision rules. The roads that are being proposed, have they been designed by a professional engineer?
Yes, we have plans put together for them. And Mr. Miller had stated that they were 30 foot, they're actually 60 feet
Okay.
in width.
That was
But
one
yes,
of the
they're,
questions.
they are, we have plans that are stamped and signed by an engineer in our office.
And those roads have been designed for adequate support of the surface
Yes,
and traffic?
yes, sir. And like I said, the drainage on in the borrow ditches and everything are all
And you took
included.
consideration of the soil and everything out there,
Yes, sir.
environmental conditions. Yeah, that'd be about it. You already answered the 60-foot, so we're good to go. Thank you on that.
And I would like to say that these roads are not easements, they are dedicated roads. They don't, the ownership of the lots do not go to the center of the roads. They are specifically dedicated road right-of-ways.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Laird?
Do you think the commissioners have the authority to grant this request?
I believe so.
Do you think the commissioners have the authority to deny the request?
I believe so.
Thank you. All I have.
Anything else?
Mr. Farringer,
Yes.
as I look at the plat for Tatanka Run subdivision, slide 5, yeah. I don't see Mr. Miller's name on the dedication. I see Wyoming, I've got to zoom in again, Wyoming Land Acquisition Partners 1.
When this plat was first prepared, Mr. Miller was in negotiation with the ownership. And as happens a lot of times with the subdivision, is that it's weighted to contingent upon approval of the subdivision plat that the purchase of the property would be followed through on. And so that ownership would have to sign the plat. Since this plat was prepared and submitted, Mr. Miller has actually bought the property, and that name change will happen on the final plat.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
So Mr. Miller is the owner and would be signing
Yes,
whatever plat of dedication.
yes, sir.
And then I see note 10, you referred to it, I believe, that's the FAA note,
Yes,
easement agreement to be revised when Sitting Bull Road is constructed. It doesn't, in my mind, go far enough. I think that we, at the very least, owe it to the future owners of lots 7 and 8 and 10 to not issue building permits. Do you believe your client would have any opposition to such a condition?
I believe so. If we restrict it to those particular lots,
You
That-
believe he'd be okay with that restriction?
yeah, Mr. Miller will get up here and you can ask him, but I believe he would be all right with restricting building permits on those lots until Sitting Bull is constructed.
Sorry, Commissioner Mill.
I have one more question.
All right, I'm going to give you and Mr. Miller a chance to answer this question. Criteria 2 says that the subdivision is in conformance with the general provisions, Chapter 1. One of those provisions is in Section 3 of Chapter 1. Says that the board establishes this subdivision regulation to promote public health, safety, and welfare and orderly growth. And subsection D says to safeguard the interests of the public, the property owner, and the subdivider. How would approving this subdivision safeguard the interests of the public?
I believe it goes into the effect of providing more buildable lots, providing more expansion in the county, providing, more affordable properties for people in the county to be able to move out further into the country if they like. Some of that, I can let Mr. Miller expand on that a little more, but yeah, I believe that this would not violate any of those issues.
Thank you. Commissioner Mill?
Last question from me, for you, Bill, is the current access for the current version of Sitting Bull Street off of the frontage road,
Yes,
would that be abandoned at that point and removed?
yes, yes, that was a requirement by YDOT
Okay,
to remove the existing cattle guard there.
okay.
Commissioner Laird?
I get the sense, I've never seen a hearing before where there's so many people that come here and protest.
My grandmother always used to say, where there's smoke, there's fire. So what I'm wondering is I see that that it's just slightly tilted, it's slightly out of order. That all of this paperwork could be brought up to date, his signature could be on it, you could see that we have all of the documents from the bank and all of that, and put it in my possession. I'd be happy if I had all that. But I don't know how I could ever vote on this thing without seeing all of that in writing. And I don't dispute that it may, that he's got the money or anything else. I just need to see it in writing. People come, just like telling me it's a 30-foot road, and he was wrong on that. He can be wrong. I don't hold that against him. But people are wrong sometimes. And they don't understand what we have to consider. He's sitting there reading the rules. That one rule he just read, I think, means we could turn anything down we want to turn down. So, I could go on and on, but I'm not going to do it.
I understand. So, okay.
I don't think we have any other questions for you. Council, either of you, staff, have you reviewed the financial assurances letter, and does it meet with our standards? Does it meet the requirements?
It does, Commissioner. I apologize for not putting this in the packet. If you, Commissioner Laird, would like to see it.
I would like to see it.
You have account numbers redacted on there just for public record purposes. But it does meet the county's requirements and would be sufficient. The standard would be to complete the roads, not the homes themselves for the financial guarantee, as this subdivision would just essentially be for the roads and the land. The purchase of the homes or the land to build the homes would be on the homeowners.
Right. Okay, well, I figured since it was part of your staff report that it had been reviewed and received, that it met with your approval, but I want to make sure after Commissioner Laird's comment. I think that's it. Mr. Miller, did you want to make any last comment to some of the conversation?
I want to comment on, I believe it was Greg Gerard. He was talking about my last major subdivision. So we owned a lot on Tomahawk, and basically we cut it to 3. Well, on the other side of the street, the original brothers cut it to 2. So that meant in a quarter mile, there were 5 lots, which equals 5 sets of dues at $300+ and plus. So compared to $600, you're getting over $1,500 to fix a piece of road. And he's saying, well, look at these roads. They don't look good. Well, obviously, I made a benefit by subdividing it. There was more revenue. What they do with it, I don't know. Second of all, in your possession, you should have the 7-page letter that the Gerards put together, where it seems to me like they went around door to door to talk to all these people. And if you look at it, we cut it apart and we rebutted everything. So in the letter, I'll give you an example. On Tomahawk, Brian, he had problems with his floor, he had problems with his exterior paint, he had problems with his front door. That's all in their letter. But if you look at our letter or our rebuttal, and then I don't know if any of you went and looked at any of this. So this is our documentation for the rebuttal. We paid him $13,500. He signed a release saying he was fine. On top of, we sued Menards because we bought the flooring through Menards and it was defective. So if you look at that letter, we addressed every single person, including the Engelmans. They tried to, they did have my license suspended. Okay, we came before the commissioner and they presented their case. we presented our case. Well, our case had 168 pages of documentation of the whole process. And obviously, the way it went was you went into executive session, you came back out and said my license was restored. So, you know, people are still, the Hewitt, yeah, last time we were here, we had a lien on his property, okay? And you'll understand this. We didn't file the pre-lien correctly. Our contract said we had the right to lien it, that he signed before we started, but statute says we had to have the pre-lien. So that was the whole basis for this dismissal. But in what they're also not telling you is that in the dismissal of the lien, the judge said, that does not excuse you, Mr. Hewitt, from the $38,000 that you still owe Mr. Miller. But like you said, that becomes a separate issue. But all this stuff, oh, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. It's pretty much documented that I take care of everything and have taken care of everything. Is there any questions?
All right, my question, I have two questions. Number one, would you agree to no building permits being issued for lots 7, 8, and 9, I'm sorry, 7, 8, and 10, without a written agreement with the FAA to relocate to your
I would agree to that.
platted Sitting Bull Road? And then the next question is what I asked Mr. Farringer. I see in chapter 1 where we are to safeguard the interests of the public, the property owner, and the subdivider. How would we be safeguarding the interests of the public by approving this subdivision?
Well, we're trying to build a community, and a better community than what people have done before. In all reality, B.B. Brooks is an abomination. They came in, they didn't really ask properly, they didn't build the roads right, there was a lot of infrastructure that wasn't. One of the first things I did when they brought this to me was call Rocky Mountain Power. Can I get power there? That's the big thing, because a lot of people buy lots and they say, well, you can't be serviced. Well, why not? Well, we just don't do it. So that was one of my first questions, was to go and reach out to Rocky Mountain Power and make sure that I could get power. Then we did the Chapter 23 study to make sure that the aquifer can handle what we want to do. So I think we're bringing a benefit for the public and to Natrona County and Wyoming.
Any other questions for Mr. Miller? Thank you, sir.
Is the hearing closed?
At this time, hang on just a second, let me get this right. There being no others to speak for or against MS 24-01, I now declare the public hearing closed.
I have a motion.
Commissioner Laird.
I move we go into executive session. I need some legal advice concerning some of the paperwork that I'm not sure of right now.
It's been moved by Commissioner Laird to go into executive session for legal counsel. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Laird, seconded by Commissioner Friel. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I would suggest that we have some staff besides legal attend in case we have some questions on them as well.
Good idea.
Fair enough. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're in executive session. We'll return in a minute or two. All right, we're back after our executive session. Do I have a motion?
I move that we table this matter for further consideration.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Laird, seconded by Commissioner Friel, to table this. Any discussion? Commissioner Friel.
Mr. Chairman, to start off with, the financial backing itself, after we looked at it and looked at the amount that would actually be required to even do the roadways, it doesn't look like there's a sufficient amount of financial backing. So I would ask that proper financial backing is, or supportive documentation to show that there's proper financial backing takes place with that. Secondly, the roadway for the FAA, we've been told a couple times here that they'll definitely do it. But again, to Commissioner Laird, to his point, if it's not in writing, then it's not guaranteed that it's going to happen. So that also needs to be done to be able to show that they'll take an alternate route to get where they need to go. I think there were two other things that yeah, and while we're at it, the plat name, the plat needs to be cleaned up and needs to have the proper name put on the plat itself. So I would ask for those three items to be taken care of, and that's a reason for tabling.
And I think that the condition or note number 10 on the plat can be clarified to reference lots 7, 8, and 10 as per our discussion, and I believe Mr. Miller's agreement. So turning to the evidence of financial capacity, I found that particularly lacking. First of all, I don't know Desert Garden Greater Service LLC building the road for $1,250. I'm not sure that that's in the realm of reality. But this is a home equity line of credit. $150,000 is the amount. It's from 2022, near as I can tell, and $80,000 at that time had been used up. So it's also not really a traditional letter of credit or a surety bond. And Knife River's materials, I think themselves are over $500,000. So I think there's some consultation with our planning department that can be had so that we have adequate financial assurances. Commissioner Laird, did you have anything
No,
for discussion?
I just want everything in order and in writing.
Commissioner Milne, anything?
Yes, sir. The road up to the VOR, I've really got to see something in writing on that. That's pretty concerning. It's a huge deal. That VOR. The other point to Chairman Nicolasen's point is the HELOC. I don't really see where that's adequate as far as to retain there's nothing behind it as far as what they are. I would really like to see some kind of a surety behind that, something with a little bit more meat to it than how it stands right now. And as it stands right now, not even that covers the amount of material, probably even for phase one. I'd be very concerned about that. I'd like to see potentially the phases broken down as far as how much it's going to cost in materials to do each phase. And then we'd have a better basis of making our decision on that.
Thank you, Commissioners, and I'd like to thank the public, and I'd like you to know that we're not necessarily in agreement that this thing is going to move forward, even if all these items are presented. We would still have to consider the matter further and vote on it at that time. So please don't take this as a we're going to head down this path. I'd say that personally, I am a little concerned about the commission looking at, and no offense, Mr. Miller, but past sins or skeletons over here when we're talking about this land here, and what can be done, what will be done. I think that there's really maybe some thin ice there that we need to, whether it's giving somebody a second chance or whether it's or a third chance or whatever, fourth. But to me, we need to focus on the development proposal that's in front of us. And I think we're going to do that. I think we have done that. I would say that it's not lost on any of us that even if not directly relevant to this particular 322 acres, some of the comments and some of the past problems that this developer has had probably does influence me, at least, in terms of looking a little bit more carefully at, we're going to get a deal with the FAA. Okay, well, maybe that happens, maybe it doesn't. We're going to have financial assurances. We got to take a closer look at that. So I do think that it was helpful to hear from you all and to see the submissions. I think that that's maybe not directly relevant, but certainly provides some context for what we have in front of us and the developer's proposal. So with that, any last comment, Commissioner Milne? Okay, with that, then all in favor of tabling this, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that's the conclusion of this MS 24-01 for the time being. We'll now move into our public comment period. We don't have our trusty little, oh, we do. All right, is that on my computer, Michelle? Who's gonna keep that? You can keep it? Okay, so we've got 5 minutes allotted to each speaker. Please don't feel you have to use all of your 5 minutes. So if you'd like to make public comment, come on down.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Carolyn Griffith. I live up on Coates Road. And here have, because Michelle likes making copies of all these, I've got, we're at 18,437 petition signatures from citizens posting that they're opposed to the gravel pit up on Coates Road. And I'll give these to Michelle directly. And the other thing I wanted to just mention was, and you're probably aware, but Teton County just had their case filed at the Supreme Court level against the, basically against the state and the use of the glamping issue up there. And I know that I think Sheridan County is in a similar situation. And I believe that they're proposing something to county commissioners because of the basic disregard for county zoning rules and regulations as they apply to state lands within their own counties. And I would encourage any support for those groups if you deem so appropriate.
If I can give you an update on that.
Yeah.
I mentioned this at the work session. The county commissioners, your board of county commissioners, formally requested the Wyoming County Commissioners Association to intervene or file an amicus brief, and two-thirds of the county, over two-thirds of the counties in Wyoming that were represented agreed, and so the Wyoming County Commissioners Association is engaging in that pending Supreme Court appeal. The time frame within which to file anything is very, very limited. There's basically 7 days left. It's hard to get an attorney to get on the phone in 7 days, but they have retained counsel and they are intending on participating. We do not control what they might file. That is determined by the Wyoming County Commissioners Association, but I would tell you that as one of the voting members from one of the 23 counties, I heard a lot of local government control is critical, especially as it pertains to land use planning. So I would imagine that that's going to be a focus of the Wyoming County Commissioners Association in whatever it may ultimately file. So we're indirectly engaged.
I appreciate that update and also that effort. I know that the Citizens for Responsible Use of State Lands, which is crucial up there in Teton County, they've also filed an amicus. We are, Casper Mountain Preservation Association is also filing an amicus, I've heard there may be another one out there as well that's in a similar situation. It might be the Sheridan Group. So thank you for that update. Appreciate it.
Others wishing to make public comment?
Rosemary Saban, Natrona County resident. I'm actually pleased with your guys' decision tonight. Do you guys know what Senate Joint 3 is? The bill.
Please tell us.
Constitutional amendment for fourth separate class residential. You guys know what that is?
Enlighten me.
It's going to be on the ballot for a vote of the people in Wyoming. At the next meeting, when we have a turnout, I want to educate the people, and I would like you guys to, as representation, to add some feedback to why you think it is good or bad for the people to vote on. So I'm showing you my cards so you can get informed about it if you don't know what it is. Because it's going to be a very bad thing for the state of Wyoming, but thank you.
Other public comment? All right, well, thank you all for coming tonight. We're here to serve. With that, I would entertain a motion. Oh, we're going to have to do commissioner comments. I mean, we get to do commissioner comments.
1 minute. We each get 1 minute.
1 minute?
Yeah.
All right, you're on the clock, Commissioner Laird. Go.
Carolyn, I hope that you send all of these petitions to Megan Degenfelder. She's from Natrona County, and she's on that State Land Commission, and I'm not sure she understands the whole issues very well. About the fact that a lot of people don't think the state properly issued those leases. And I know you're looking into that, but, when you have 18,000 votes, people running for office ought to be aware of that, the power of that. Now, it's a political issue. It has nothing to do with the commission, but I just know how some of those state boards run down there. And I think they would sure like to know how many people in Natrona County
You have 5 seconds.
feel certain things. Do I have 5 seconds? I'm done then, thank you.
You actually
I actually
finished
did
right
it,
on
didn't I?
time. Commissioner Friel.
I was gonna yield my time to Dallas. I wanna hear what he had to say.
Okay, what more do you have to say, Commissioner?
The people should and will and can be heard, and you're the people. And you gotta let people know what you're doing and how you're feeling and what your petition says, and the whole state needs to know it. And if people from Natrona County that get elected by Natrona County voters aren't listening to you, you need to explain it to them.
Commissioner Milne.
You want a little bit more time?
I'm done.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm gonna go get a burrito as soon as we're done here. And somebody bought me a burrito that had something on their car about preserving the mountain. I don't know who it was, but whoever did it, thanks for buying me a burrito.
And now that you've used up my time, I'm finished. Thank you very much.
I don't have anything. No long speech tonight, not even a short one. Thank you.